Hey everyone, it's your average chess player here. Today we are going to look at an endgame position. I've been studying endgames recently and I've been posting a lot of it in the channel too. And I just came across this position recently and I found it to be really interesting because the first move that we have to make in this position and all the way to the end, it's just an intriguing sequence and a lot of things that we can learn there. So it's White's turn to play, and we always start off not knowing whether this position is a win or a draw, and that's how I like to treat whenever I train, so that I don't go with any bias. Like if you say, hey, there's a tactic in this position, find it. There's 9 out of 10 times you're gonna find it. But if you're given a position and be like, hey, try to find the best move here, you're gonna probably find it a bit more difficult because you don't know what is happening there. So we don't know whether it's white is winning or it's a draw for white, or white is losing, and we still have to come up with uh, best defense here. So white's turn to play, and we need to decide what has to happen. So feel free to pause the video and figure out what is the first move, what is the plan for white, and how can we proceed here. What are the uh, biggest issues in this position for white and for black, and try to see whether you can solve this position. um, and if you don't want to do that, I mean, you could watch with me until the end of the video to see how I went about this position and what we can learn here. So let's start. So like both sides have a minor piece, both sides have a rook, and both sides have a pawn each, which is good. So what are the other aspects of this position? This is just not a simple pawn end game. Um, and black is attacking our knight, which is a thing that we need to consider here. So this knight is hanging, so we need to see how we can protect it. We cannot move it anywhere because it's pinned against our king. And then one more thing that we need to think about whenever there are bishops involved in your position, you're gonna have to look at how what all can happen on the squares covered by the bishop. So this is a dark squared bishop, right? So um, like some alarm bells went off in my head when I saw both my rook and my knight on the same diagonal, and then my king is also there. So this was I wasn't comfortable having my pieces here. So I was like, okay, so this is something I need to worry about, because I then checked out a sample variation in my head, which was to play the simplest move, king g2. Okay, I'll protect my knight, right? So I don't want to hang my knight, and I'll protect it with my king and see what happens. This immediately fails to the tactic rook takes f2. You could call this tactic like an attraction tactic, because you're attracting a piece into the square, and then black can play bishop b6, pinning the rook against the king, and then winning the rook. The rook cannot move, and then with the extra, like I play king g3 or whatever. After bishop takes c5, black has an extra piece and a queen, and the queening square is also controlled by the bishop. So as soon as I saw that tactic, I was like, okay, I definitely cannot play king g2, um, because I would be under check. Like if I play king g2, black is gonna take, and I'll be under check. Then I'll be forced to move. Then I cannot take the rook back because of the pin. So that is like one idea that I saw. The other one was, okay, so um the other one which I saw, but I know it's like it's losing, which is rook d5. The fact that it loses is because of the fact that if I play rook d5 counterattacking the bishop, it's going to be rook takes f2 with a check. So every move that black is making is going to be with a check, because the knight is going to be captured with a check. So I know now that, okay, at least I have to move my king away from this pin and protecting the knight at the same time, probably, in order to even like win this game or draw this game or whatever. So I was like, okay, So what moves do we have? We have king g3 and king g1 as a potential options while keeping an eye on the knight. King g1 falls to the same problem of rook takes f2 because we are in the same diagonal as the rook. So that's out of the option, which leaves us with king g3. So this is probably the correct move here. Um, there are no other alternatives because everything is going to land with the rook takes f2 check. So um, what else do we have? Like the thing is like rook d5. You could play rook takes f2 checking g3, and it might feel like the bishop and the rook are hanging, but bishop b6 protects everything, so there's not much we can do there. So king g3 is what we're gonna be our best try. So king g3, black can now still play rook takes f2, and you might ask, how are we gonna defend against that? Like, you would still capture with the king here, and it's going to be a pin. But in this position, we still have an option of playing rook h5. Rook h5 check is the only resource that we have. We cannot do anything else. And the reason we play rook h5 check is to prevent this bishop b6, and now we are threatening king takes f2 for sure, for reals now this time. And rook versus bishop, the rook is favored to win, and we can there will be a long end game that we have to play. But so the reason we have to play rook h5 and not any other rook move is because of the fact that we want to get the rook out of this diagonal with the tempo. If we play something like rook b5, black can just play rook a2 and just be a piece up. But playing rook h5 check, it's a check, so it's a tempo. Black has to react to it. If black plays like something like king g7 or something, you can just capture this rook and you would be winning. So rook h5 check, it's a tempo. King g6 is the one move that black can play here, hitting a rook again. And black is now like, hey, I'm hitting your rook. That's tempo for me. How are you gonna get out of this? So black's rook is hanging. Our rook is hanging. If we take the black's rook here, black would capture our rook, and then the pawn is got a queen because black has a full bishop there. In case you forgot, I certainly did when I was looking at this. So what to do here? What is our move? Um, and the only move here is to what's better than one hanging piece? It's two hanging pieces, which is rook d5 check. Not a check, it's a check to the bishop. Rook d5. Rook d5 hitting the bishop on d8 and the rook on f2, which is so black now has to guard both these pieces. So we are throwing a lot of firepower at black and counterattack at black, and black has to keep defending here. Um, so once I saw all this, I was like, okay, so maybe I figured out. And at most, this position is going to be a draw, and it white can. I don't see any scenario white can win this unless black blunders, because after the move, the only way black can save both these pieces is going to be with the move bishop b6. If black plays anything like bishop c7, white can just capture the rook. So that's not good, and what white is winning. So with best play, which is bishop b6, black can now defend this rook. The moment I saw this position, I was like, now how do I make more progress? Like now looks like black has everything under control, and this position gives way for a tactic called destroying the defender, which is the defender of this rook is still this bishop. And if this bishop were not to exist, then white can capture the rook, right? So if the white rook was not defended, you would capture it. So black's rook was not defended, you would capture it, but the bishop is protecting it. So we need to remove that defender. And you could do that with rook d6 check. And now black is in a tough spot. So black can play any number of moves with the king. We're just gonna look at a sample line with king f5, assuming the black king comes forward with an intention. Hey, I can maybe capture this white pawn, or I could, you know, blockade you here and start queening this pawn instead. So let's say king f5, it's like a straightforward move to play, and white can now play rook takes b6. Now we have successfully removed the defender of the rook here, and I was like, okay, so we are reaching a position where it is just rook and rook versus two pawns, and if black plays ab6 and I play king takes f2 and black can move, I can come up, and we could dance around if we want to, and then I would threaten to push my pawn and threaten to black would threaten to push their pawn, and it would be a draw. It's what I thought. And again, this position is going to be a draw, but there is an interesting line which I did not know. I thought this was the end of the position. I moved forward, but when I was looking at the solution for this position in the material that I was going through, I saw a specific line which caught my eye, and that is the entire reason why I wanted to do this video. The reason is black is not forced to play a takes b6 here. Black can play this tricky move rook takes f3, saying I'm not gonna go down to this dancing of kings all the way down there. I want to like force things there. And here, you want to pause the video and look at what your potential options are to win this position. Go for it. Like, think about what are your options here, because the most obvious move here is actually losing. Yeah, the most obvious move, which is king takes f3, is losing. I was shocked to know that, because it felt like it's a very automatic recapture. Like, you take my pawn, I take your rook, and ab6, and then it turns out that it is losing, because if you dance your kings around all the way here, we reach a position where black is ahead of his pawn, but it's white's turn to play, and white has to now step around, like king a3, king c4, and now black is going to build that bridge. And white, there's nothing that like white can do about it, and black can just queen the pawn. Like, you can play b4, whatever you play, I'm going to play the other way, and now we are out of squares, and black queens made the next move. So I did not if this happened in a game, unless it's a classical game, I'm not gonna play anything other than king takes f3. So, but this position is still a draw, but it's a draw only with the move king to g2, which is a shocker, because we will see why that is the move which draws the game. Because let's say after ab6, king takes f3, black goes white, and they dance around. We reach the exact position that we saw in the previous variation, but it is black's turn to play and not white. Black is still ahead of the pawn, but it is black's turn to play. So what is the difference here? So the difference here was the fact that here white started moving towards that side first, because white had to not give away any squares for the black kings to blockade. So playing king g2 here, white achieved the same thing, and now black has to make sure that white doesn't run away to catch up with the pawn and start defending these squares. Because if black move goes this way, white can just march forward and go capture that pawn, which is, all this is really really crazy. Black can also play a move like rook f2 check, but in this case, white can take it because after you capture, white can just come back to the same position that we saw with king f3, not king e3. King e3 is losing because we would get into the variation as if it was king takes f3, but we had to play king f3, waiting for black to go forward, and then we dance around with black to reach that position. Again, black can be still be tricky. Black can play in this move. Black can play sorry, in this position after king f3. Black can be tricky and play a move like b5, and now it'd be good to move forward because if you dance around, black's king would not be ahead of the pawn. Black king would be, you could say, behind the pawn or at the same level as the pawn. And then in this is a theoretical draw. Like there's no way for black's king to uh, make progress, and you could just repeat the position and it would be a stalemate. And that's oh, my bad. I I I went on super autopilot there. Um, yeah, and this is a draw. So interesting position. Like it started off with a series of tactics that you had to look at with the whole bishop diagonal here, and there's a rook takes f2 opportunity, so king g3, and then we realize, oh, black can play rook takes f2 anyway, but we cannot capture back because of this. So let's first move the rook away. How do we move the rook away? With the tempo, which is always the best thing to do. In this case, a check. And then we realize black can counterattack us with his own tempo. And then we are like, what's better than one piece hanging? It's two pieces hanging, and then we attack both the pieces. Now we are again still threatening rook, king takes f2, but then black holds everything with bishop b6, and then we employ the destroying the defender tactic, and we like rook d6 check, king f5, and we take the bishop, saying, aha, I got you. Your rook has nowhere to go, and now I'm like, if you capture me, I'm gonna capture your rook, and that's the draw still, but I was anyway losing anyway. And then black can do a counter punch with rook takes f3, and the absolute only way to draw this game is king g2 in this position because of what we saw. Crazy, crazy endgame. I'm glad that I studied this endgame. Now I know that automatic recaptures, especially in endgames, should always be thought through, and you shouldn't just be going around capturing pieces. I hope you guys learned something from this video, and I hope you enjoyed this video overall. Like this video, subscribe to my channel if you want to see more content like this. Like I said, I did other endgame videos on this channel recently. So if you like this kind of content where we walk through solutions, please go check out that one. I'll catch you guys in the next one.